Last week we learned the first 6. What are the next 6, I wonder? This week's sponsor is none other than PortraitWorks. I love PortraitWorks for all of the power they can do. Here is me in 6 minutes creating a character token for an upcoming game of mine. Now, I wanted to create an elvish character of dubious origins and certainly more nefarious intent who had some magical abilities and this little familiar that would fly around. Now, I spent quite a lot of time trying to get the familiar just right, changing the colors of its wings and things, and you'll see in a little bit what actually happened to that familiar. Once I was done with the familiar, I needed to get the face just right to convey the kind of intensity that I was looking for. And then, of course, I needed to add in the background to kind of set the tone that I was really looking for. I found the background and realized that the familiar was cluttering up the space, so bye familiar. And there you go, created my token ready for use in my game. Thanks, PortraitWorks. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of How to Be a Great GM. My name is Guy and we're talking about the next 6 motives for making your encounters that much more interesting. Now, if you haven't watched last week's episode, I suggest you go and have a look because it helps form the basis of today's video. Kind of makes sense. Oh, they know what to do. They know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You've watched this channel long enough. And if you haven't, well, welcome. Oh, yeah, that's what I have to say. Welcome. All right. Now, we spoke about last week's 6 motives for an encounter. What are this week's 6? On with it. Calm down, calm down. Okay, so the first group that we're looking at is the understanding motives. So this is where the motives behind the encounters with the PCs is to understand them more or to get a better grasp on their capabilities. So the first motive that we look at for today is the ordered motive. So the troops were ordered to go and do something to the PCs, with the PCs, for the PCs, or by the PCs. There was someone gave an order. Now, this is different from a hired kind of situation. Remember, hired thugs or hired individuals only get paid once they complete the task. Ordered individuals are oath-bound to follow through on those orders. And, more importantly, those orders will have contained parameters. I want you to go and do this. Go and arrest those people. Go and prevent them from getting through that door. So there's a requirement to that particular motive that should be fulfilled. Now, if that motive is, if that objective is not fulfilled, then the entire encounter has no meaning, or at least has no purpose. So then the guards or whoever is fulfilling this order don't need to fulfill it anymore. So they can just go home. Make sense? All right, so typical NPCs working for some kind of organization where they do go through some kind of training. There is a formality to their employment. They're professionals, you could argue. So something like that, yes. The next motive is weaken. Here, unlike just a general ordered to hold the door or whatever, the weakened objective, the weakened motive, I should say, is literally to go and weaken, attack just the water supplies, or make them use up all of their spells, or use their arrows, their ammunition, etc., etc. We want to weaken them. Do not finish them off. We have other plans, so just weaken them. The moment the objective has been achieved, those NPCs can fall back. They don't need to remain, they don't need to engage until the death. That was not the goal. The goal was to weaken, right? And as soon as that goal has been achieved, go away. Then the third of the the motives of understanding is testing. We don't know the full capabilities of that group. Go and test them. What are their defenses? Are they as strong as we thought they were? Go and test them. So again, just the objectives have changed quite significantly from the previous motives. Here, once that has been done, once the objective has been achieved, it's done. The encounter should end, or it should be trying to end as quickly as possible. So, for example, fairies could pretend to be a badger a wounded badger. A wounded badger. And then when the PCs come to help the badger, it determines if the PCs are good or not, even if the badger is like a grrr and bloodthirsty badger? Yes, something like that. The bottom line is all three of these motives are designed for a specific outcome. Once the outcome is achieved, the parties involved should separate. And if you are testing or if you are weakening, you need to be able to report that back to the authorities, to the person who sent you in the first place. So that means that people are desperately going to want to live and to get back. There might even be individuals that hold back just to watch the outcome. And then even if the party managed to defeat everybody, the one who held back can now disappear into the darkness, giving the PC someone to follow, giving some clues, giving some hints. Just so powerful. So powerful.
We weakened them, my lord.
You killed them?
Well, they can't get much weaker than dead.
Yes, exactly. Yes. All right, so the planning of the how to enact this motive is almost more important than the actual action itself. I understand that. That's fine. Then how do I, as the GM, come up with the plan on how to weaken the PCs? Socially. In a combat situation, I can understand it. You just sort of waves of monsters or slowly draining them of their resources. But socially? Now, when you're turning this as a social situation, so how do you weaken someone socially, or how do you test them socially, or what order would be given, right, from a social motivation? Well, this is where research comes into it. Look at status, and especially in fantasy games, or in all games, right? It's always a hierarchy of who is the most important, who's the most powerful, who's the most influential. So if we have this NPC who has status, and suddenly the PCs arrive and they start claiming all the value, all the rewards, oh, we killed all these monsters, we did all of this, we did all of that, the NPCs need to figure out how to weaken them socially, how to dampen down their amazing successes and their abilities, and a classic example. We have an NPC who really wants to have status, but doesn't want to confront the PCs because they're not an idiot, right? So how do they weaken the PCs? Well, by making themselves stronger in this particular case. So what if they went to an evil dragon and said, don't eat me, I will give you a sacrificial human to eat every single week for the next 5 years if you do one little thing for me. Come and attack me in the town square, and I will defend the town square, and I will slay you. Or at least I will cause you such fear and terror that you will leave. This is going to work out for both of us, I assure you. All right, I can imagine this if we play it out. The dragon swoops in, is about to defeat the PCs, and then the NPC walks in, smotes the dragon flees in terror, the NPC is victorious. But how does that help socially? Isn't it just a dragon encounter? Yes, but only if you stop there. You've got to play the whole thing out, which is the NPC then saying, I was the one who saved you from the evil dragon. These rapscallions, they might have some victories over bloodthirsty ogres or bloodthirsty goblins or bloodthirsty vampires, but when it comes down to it, the real threat, that was me. So, weaken, strengthen, thank you very much. And if the PCs actually manage to defeat the dragon before the other NPC can come in, then the other NPC doesn't have a choice, can't really capitalize on that, so they're going to have to think of something else. And then, whilst they're busy thinking of something else to do to annihilate or to weaken, then the PCs can be finding clues that leads back to the NPC originally who was hiring the dragon in the first place. So it's Exactly. You're finally on the same page. So yes, the NPC will now frantically be trying to figure out how to stop the PCs. Perhaps their motive now is to hire someone to assassinate the PCs or whatever it is, because they, if they get found out, will be exiled and they'll lose all of that status that they were after in the first place. That does lead me kind of neatly into the next three motives. The last three motives, as a matter of fact. Keep talking. I am just busy working out this adventure for the dragon quickly, because it's not bad. Focus. But the adventure. Focus. Well, look, who's the GM here? Do not ask that question here. So this leads me to the last of the three, which is psychological. So these really are in the territory of bloodthirsty, for blood to the death type of motives, but they are all slightly different. The first one is intimidate. This is where the NPCs need to intimidate the PCs. They need to show them strength. Now, it obviously only works if they actually prove to be stronger. The warlord who struts into camp and declares that they cannot be defeated by the PCs and then gets defeated is not proving their motive. So their motive will shift to another motive, right? So how do you intimidate? Could be a show of strength. It could be a superior position. It could be intellectually superior. We often see academics intimidating one another by spouting more and more fantastical theorems or formula, or dismissing one another. So the intimidation motive is quite a fun one from both a physical combat and a social aspect as well. And if they don't... But it does rely on the intimidator being intimidating and not failing at that. Socially, how do you see that working? Well, if they are not intimidating, if they don't succeed at being intimidating, then they lose face, and so then we might move into the revenge motive, the second of these three. The revenge motive is literally, I will get revenge upon you. This is a very old tale. You wronged me, you wronged my grandfather, wronged your grandfather, etc., etc. There is a justification here that the person who is getting revenge is entitled to the revenge, and that they are committing everything to it. It becomes all-consuming. Once I have got revenge, then I will be at peace. And then what? Well, I'll probably take up knitting. You play it out however you see fit. But the revenge motive, if you look at all the other ones that we've been discussing, very, very different from an assassination motive or from a opportunistic motive. This is cold, calculated, I will get revenge. From a social perspective, I will put you on a pedestal and then reveal you to the crowd in all of your nakedness and bring you low, and I shall be avenged. Well, you know, you get the point. Something along those lines. So an NPC that wants to have the PCs accused of heresy performs a whole bunch of heretical rituals of evil and darkness, I like it, and then tries to get the PCs framed for having done those heretical rites in the first place. Okay, I do like that. And then the PCs obviously have to prove their innocence. That's going to be tricky. Right, absolutely. That's one way of doing it. And of course, if you follow the usual steps, you actually end up with an entire adventure. They have to plan out how to conduct these rituals, and the PCs have to investigate, then they need to find evidence, and they need to fight off things that the NPC will have hired to stop them from revealing their investigation outcomes, and so on. So you will literally end up with an entire adventure just off of this one motive. Oh, wait. That's a whole adventure. That's not just an encounter. Gotcha. Well, I mean, that's the golden rule, isn't it? Is never close yourself down to opportunities. So if a motive of an NPC creates a mini adventure within your bigger scope, isn't that what we want? We want the NPCs to create potentials of conflict for our PCs to act in opposition to, and that results in the story emerging. So if a motive becomes an adventure, that's a good thing. And if you can't see that or capitalize on that, that's something to work on, I think. All right, I'll shut up now. On to the last one, madness. This is literally where the character is not in command of their faculties or doesn't have any faculties, and they're just bloodthirsty and out for blood and kill stuff. Wait, no clever twist, no extra, just that's it? Yep, that's it. There's nothing more to it. They mindless, could be zombies, skeletons, under mind control, something like that. But ultimately, they just there to kill stuff. They will do that until they are killed.
Ah, okay, and so if all of your NPCs simply fight to the death, it's basically you're just running a mindless encounter after mindless encounter, which is pretty mundane. Okay, all right, yes, fine. All right, at least we can fix it now, right?
That's it, folks, for this week, for this year, as a matter of fact. A massive, massive thank you to all of my patrons for the whole of 2022. You have made this channel and helped it grow, hopefully, and you've seen improvements and all that kind of wonderful stuff. Big thank you to all of you. And all that I can say is, we'll see you again next year for even more. And until next year, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.